Dr. Toni Galardi is an internationally known public speaker who has charted a 7-stage process she calls the LifeQuake model. Its function is to preempt the need for crisis as a motivating force for change. Working with companies as diverse as Xerox, British Petroleum, and International Media Network, Dr. Galardi's seminars and speaking engagements focus mainly on those seeking to transform a chaotic existence into an authentic, meaningful life.
Change. When you hear that word, what feeling does it evoke? You know, they say that the fear of public speaking is the biggest fear in America. Now, maybe because I am a public speaker, I have a hard time buying that. But I think that if we were to look into each of our lives, we would find one place where we are resisting making a change. But if you had the ability to foresee the when, the how, and what changes you needed to make, and you were able to do it in a timely fashion, what difference would that make? Now, having said that, let me also say this. I am the poster child for the change impaired. I've made all the mistakes there are to make when it comes to resisting change. So today what I'm going to talk to you about is 3 near-fatal experiences that occurred in my life as a result of being afraid to make changes. One took place in my workplace, the second was in my home, and the third was a result of a marriage I needed to leave. So having said that, I can also tell you that there are signs that precede a crisis. And when we have those signs available to us and we're looking for them, we don't have to go through crisis. I'm going to give you some tools today. They're going to help you to adapt to change in such a way that you're not going to ever have to go through crisis again, because your life is going to reflect authenticity, joy, and purpose. I think the benefits of this change model is that when a person is needing to make changes in their life and they're resisting those changes, what often happens is we turn to addictive habits or physical illness as a way of avoiding telling the truth to ourselves. That costs the company money. All right, now that we've explored the first 2 stages of the LifeQuake model, what we're going to talk about is how to preempt crisis. But what I first want to do is to get a raise of hands. How many people, now that we've gone through and looked at how you can preempt crisis through looking at certain signs, I'd like to get a raise of hands of how many people can see into their lives now that there was at least one experience. It might have been a divorce, it could have been an illness, it might have been being fired from a job, where had you had these particular signs available to you, and you had the keen observation that was the building element we talked about in stage 1, that you could have literally it may not have had to go to a major life crisis level. Okay, how many people have had 2 experiences like that? Okay. And how many people like myself are slow learners and have had at least 3 experiences like that? Okay, great. Well, you know, it's very reassuring to know that there are people like me. We all have our fear of change. What I'd like to do next is, what we're going to do is partner up, just like you did in the last exercise, same partner, and choose who's going to be partner A and who's going to be partner B. And we're going to time this. You each get 2 minutes. And I want you to share with your partner an experience that you can remember back in your life. And now that you have these first 2 stages available to you, what you could have done differently that might have made the difference between adapting to change and having to go through a crisis. So let's start. Okay, what I'd like to do now is to summarize the first 3 stages. In essence, what we're talking about when we do the first 3 stages of the LifeQuake journey in a conscious way is about deconstructing the parts of your life that don't work any longer. But before we can move on to stage 5, 6, and 7, we need to talk about the parts of the self that we've been keeping in the cellar. And everyone has parts that they're ashamed of. They're afraid that if they were to allow those parts out, they would not be approved of by society. And I'm going to give you an example. I was working with an attorney recently who was going through a traumatic divorce. And he started having psychic experiences where he could actually read people's minds before they would actually say the words. And this was really scaring him. And as we started to talk about it, he recalled that as a child, this was very common for him. But his father was a fundamentalist minister, and he saw this as devil's play. And so my client learned that he had to suppress this aspect of himself, and it became something he actually had to shove down into the basement and the cellar of his consciousness. When this divorce took place, the emotions that were coming up completely overrode his defenses, and he started having psychic experiences. This was a very, very important piece for him to integrate into the new being that he was developing in order to have a truly authentic life. And I would like us now for each of you to take a look at the parts of your life where there might be some aspect of self. It might be something as what you might have think as negative as procrastination that has a gift inside of it. And so what we're about in this stage is excavating the gold from the cellar of the unconscious. And this is where we start to really pull together an authentic beingness.